Good afternoon on what is a warm, bright and sunny day. It is Wednesday the 8th of May and I'm in the reading up with a nice hot cup of tea and a parcel which actually just arrived this morning. So let's find out what I've got in here. It's come from drive-through, I can tell from the packaging. I've got a sheaf of books. So I've actually got quite a fantastic set here of Adventures for Delta Green. So I'm going to pick out perhaps the most well-known one. I'm going to come back to these again and again because these are from Art Dream Publishing, and I've got a total of 6 in here. I'll do unboxings of all of these. And this is Puppets and Shadow Plays. Terror on the Devil's Highway. 13 people have vanished along Highway 70 in the Arizona desert. That stretch of road, the press already calls it the Devil's Highway, runs through the San Carlos Apache Indian Reservation. Tribal police and state investigators are at a loss. Now the FBI steps in, it sends your agents. They may find a trail of terror that leads far from Arizona and a deeper evil than they can hope to overcome. Set in the late 1990s, Puppets, Shows and Shadow Plays is an introductory scenario for Delta Green, the role-playing game. It accompanies the 90s sourcebook, Delta Green the Conspiracy. The player's agents can be members of the Delta Green Conspiracy or newcomers who have no idea what to expect. The Devil's Highway may drive survivors to a grim initiation. Once they see the unnatural threats that Delta Green confronts, can they ever turn away? So this is a scenario with a little bit of history because it originally appeared in the Delta Green sourcebook that was published by by Pagan Publishing in 1997, and that sourcebook introduced a completely new way of playing a kind of Lovecraftian investigative horror. You played sort of like members of government organisations in the United States, like the FBI, the CIA, even the park, basically the state forest organisation as well, who would investigate strange events and prevent them from essentially being a threat to mankind, and also falling into the clutches of the government-sanctioned organisation Majestic, because at this point Delta Green, which had been a sanctioned organisation, part or a secret organisation within the US government, had been essentially shut down, and its members basically shut down and disbanded, but it continued to operate without any government support. So it was a rogue agency. Nevertheless, its organisers felt that there was a need for it to continue. So this scenario really, as I say, introduced the players to the concepts. And if anything, this scenario is probably closest to what you might think of as an X-Files style investigation. And this is despite the fact that Delta Green is not inspired by X-Files. It predates X-Files in its original genesis in Unspeakable Oath number 7, back in the early 90s. So anyway, this is a good scenario really to run with really 2 or 3 agents at best. More than that, you kind of get over. You basically just got too many, I think, that really. But it's a good scenario from what I recall. So here we go. We've got an introduction, explanation of what's going on, and United States Department of Justice Federal Bureau of Investigation brief summary of effects. You have essentially, here's a first big handout, which you'll give to the agents as the game master, as the handler, to explain what's going on. And then you've got the information for the handler. And this is essentially a list of all the victims that have been discovered so far. All the information that has been passed on to the FBI by state investigators and the reservation police. So here's the location, Arizona. This is the map of the area. And this essentially got an overview of what's going on before we have an explanation of unnatural involvement. And strangely, we have the beginnings of a trickster in the story, essentially in the form of Coyote, which actually sort of doesn't kind of turn out to be exactly that. It is tied to the unnatural in a way you probably wouldn't. You would and you wouldn't expect. It depends how much you kind of know about the unnatural. And that begins, essentially, this trickster figure, the Coyote, begins to uncover clues for the benefit of the player characters, for the agents, although they don't really know it. It's just weird, which includes major discovery of this buried car, and what's in it ties back all across the United States. So it looks like, it's no longer a case of having a local serial killer striking along Highway 70. So here's what happens calling Houston, where basically the player characters decide that we're going to call back and see what happened in that city, get some information, and follow up with some disappearances, more disappearances locally, and then the player characters benefit from another benefactor, not the trickster, but an anonymous one, and there's a guidance there for running the scenario without that benefactor. That one person is basically going to be giving notes and hints and so on as they go along, and you have more clues, and the player characters begin to focus in on what's going on, what's happening, before they track down the perpetrator. And when the perpetrator is identified, then it begins to go awry, because you have the arrival of this thing, and that's what's driving the story. That's the monster behind it, and then essentially it's involved with a local native character who is actually a deserter from the United States Army, Special Forces, after serving in Vietnam. So that brings in the attention, that flags the case sort of worldwide, and brings in other agencies and other interests in the investigation. So the player characters have to track him down, and when the other news about what they make, it also brings in Majestic. So the player characters really have a sort of quite difficult investigation. It's a straightforward investigation in some ways, but it's made all the more difficult because of the fact that they have to contend with the local law enforcement, not entirely happy that the FBI are there, but knowing that they need them, with the difficulty of relationships between the local reservation police and the federal authorities. So the player characters have to really tread quite carefully, and also with the interference of Majestic as well, who are far more powerful and far more capable, and have official backing that the agents sort of like kind of begin to realise that they don't have. So it's at this point the player characters are going to have to learn how to sort of like give up some of the things they discovered. But that does involve a fantastic scene here with this thing in an autopsy. It's possible to do that with an NPC, but ideally you should have a player character doing that autopsy. Absolutely. So we get towards the end of the scenario, and finally the anonymous benefactor reaches out. And then we've got the aftermath and possible recruitment. The player characters are given the choice of, do you want to be in or out? Do you want to join Delta Green? And this will see them become essentially friendlies for now, perhaps tapped for a case or two, an investigation or more, before they are brought fully on board. So at the end here we have the full stats for the NPCs and monsters, the creatures of the unnatural, ready to be used. Now these are for use with the Delta Green role-playing game, although they are conversant with other basic role-playing games if that's your preference. But this then is a really terrific little introduction to Art Dream's Delta Green role-playing game. Perhaps it's almost a shame that it's set during the classic period of the conspiracy, when we're introduced to Delta Green, rather than the period now in the contemporary period when Delta Green has been brought back into the fold, into the government control, because it does make it a little bit difficult to run, but you could adapt it if you wanted to. You would need to change a few details, I think, and be a bit more aware of what's going on in general within the Delta Green background. Otherwise, fantastic to have this back in print. It's a nice looking book. It's a great scenario. If you want a good scenario to introduce your player characters, your agents, to the current version, then get Need to Know, which is the screen, and it's got the classic scenario, Last Things Last. Otherwise, if you want to investigate sort of like and play when Delta Green was all new, then do have a look at puppet shows and shadow plays in conjunction with the conspiracy. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this unboxing the Nook. If you did, then please do click on the like button down below. And if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be led to get more unboxings of the Nook, where you will see me out here with a box containing a book or game, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea, then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing of the Nook. I'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.